Welcome to the Audiotocracy Podcast. In this podcast, we'll talk to smaller businesses, startups, solopreneurs, and grassroots organizations about what they do, the changes they're making, the barriers they encounter, and the victories they've achieved, and how they're paving the way for others. I'm Shannon Perry, founder of Audiotocracy Podcast Production. I hope you'll join my guests and me here. And if you know a business or organization you feel would be a good fit, please send them our way. You can reach us at info@audiotocracy.com. That's info@audiotocracy.com. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Audiotocracy Podcast. Can a jacket change the way we think? Entrepreneur Shravani Salgaonkar is using her business to help normalize tolerance, compassion, empathy, and kindness by putting beautiful messaging on the back of denim jackets. Because maybe one day, on a crowded bus on the way to work, when someone has stared at the gorgeous message on the back of your jacket for the last 7 stops, it'll spark a conversation. And that conversation can spark a change. Stay tuned for my conversation with Shravani, who is doing amazing things with her business, Chain Spark. So, Shravani, could you tell us a little bit about what is Chain Spark and where did it come from?
Yeah, sure. So, firstly, super excited to be here. Chain Spark is a social enterprise, and so that's what our business model is, where we sort of refuel all our profits back into the initiative. And it's aimed at increasing awareness about social issues through our fashion store, educational videos through our digital content. And then we also have give back programs through partnerships for each of our products that we sell online. And basically, our mission is to work towards a brave new world, one that is tolerant, aware, and conscious about its actions.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hurry up, would you? Get that built for us. Thanks. I love that. That's awesome. So, what sparked Change Spark?
Yeah, it's so funny that it's got a spark in it. And I've heard this way too often, but yeah, there were
Sorry.
yeah. It's funny because each time you Google Chain Spark, the first thing that comes up is like, how do you change your spark plug? And I'm like, no, that's not what people should be looking for. It's not
Right.
what we want people to
Exactly.
find. But yeah, so there were a couple of things honestly that sort of led to Chain Spark, a bit on the personal end with some experiences that I faced, along with sort of the awareness that was happening around the world at the time. And so in late 2013, I moved to Canada from Singapore to study. So Singapore was where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my first step into living like independently without my parents, and I was out of my bubble, super excited. And so during my orientation period, people would assume that I just came from India because of the way I look. And each time that I would tell them, well, I'm from Singapore, they had this like blank look on their face, mostly because they didn't know where Singapore was.
Mm-hmm.
And also because it sort of didn't fit into their vision of what a person from Singapore looks like.
Right.
And so they would often ask me questions like, are you okay with speaking English? Or like, do your cousins, go to school on a camel or a lion? And I mean, this is 2013, right? So
Oh,
I was like, I thought we have moved past those stereotypes and the Indiana Jones references of Indians eating monkey brains. So I was just so confused with this entire thing. And it's funny because back in Singapore, I actually took higher level English when I was doing my IB diploma. And
mm-hmm.
so I was like, guys, come on. I mean, here I'm taking pride in my higher level English course that I've taken and aced in my high school. And then on the other end, people are asking me if I can even speak the language, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, it was sort of those things where I didn't match the stereotype that people had about me in their in their heads. And
Mm.
then this sort of just led me back to like, why are people really asking these questions, right? And why is there this lack of awareness about different cultures? And what surprised me was that this wasn't a true or accurate reflection of the population in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Toronto is really diverse. And so, why were people still confused and still had these prejudices about, people from India or like people from Singapore? And so,
Right.
this is sort of where the journey began. I would say that was at one moment where I was like, I need to dig deeper into why this is happening. And this is me alone, had a lot of time on my hand as well. It was just first year university. So I was digging deep, asking people questions about why they would like, why are you assuming this, or like why do you have this
Mm-hmm.
prejudice in your mind. And this was around the same time that my parents moved to the US as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would visit them pretty often. And each time that I would visit them, or most of the times that I would visit them, I would spend a ton of time at security, going through
Mm.
secondary clearances,
Ugh.
or even at customs, they would like stop me and ask me questions about like what's in my bag, and like, are you sure you're like sort of telling me the truth, or do you have something that you have to declare? And it was kind of strange because the other passengers around me would like take 5 minutes, go by quickly,
Mm-hmm.
sit outside
Mm-hmm.
their boarding gate and get that Starbucks that everyone should at an airport.
Right.
So I was just like confused, and again, I think it was a lot of just internal questions and thoughts, and I would never voice it out to people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's never a good idea to voice out your opinion at an immigration check, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so all of these things led me to, well, I can't really ask questions, or I can't really voice out my opinion in that moment. So what can I
Mm-hmm.
do to really sort of silently scream what I really want to scream?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I designed a jacket for myself. And I was thinking about a powerful word that I want to put on it, to really tell people what I want to say. And this was when I was listening to a whole bunch of speeches and talks about world leaders and activists talking about love and care and affection.
Mm-hmm.
And here I
Mm-hmm.
was sitting with my lived experiences thinking, well, we're not a tolerant community, so why are we jumping that boat and getting into love and care and affection
Right.
when we have to first maybe tackle the tolerance bit of things?
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
And so
Right.
that's why I was like, Eureka, I found it. I found the word I want to put on my jacket. So I hand painted tolerance on my denim jacket, um, sort of printed an image which had different faces and different colors on it, different features and hairstyles, just to
Mm-hmm.
show that at the end of the day, we're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're all similar or the same, and there is no point in really being intolerant of each other. So
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of where I would say Chain Spark was born. Where as I rock the jacket around Toronto, as I like to call it,
It's
people.
a beautiful design.
Oh,
The one
thank
that you
you.
have,
Yeah, thank
that's
you.
still your original design that's on the jacket now.
It is, yes. So
It's
the
gorgeous.
anti-racism collection, that's the one that I had initially designed, and I just loved it. I stuck to it. I made a few minor changes, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what I stuck to. And then I think people. So as I would wear it around Toronto, people would stop me and ask me like where I got it from, and back then, I mean, I knew that I sort of had to do this. I had to start this thing. And so when I graduated, Chain Spark was born. So yeah, it's I would say it's been a journey from then as well. It hasn't stopped. Chain Spark is still growing, and it's still evolving into different things. But that was what led to the spark, is what I would say. A long version of it.
No, no, that makes total sense. I mean,
Yeah,
certainly from your lived experience to now, that makes great sense. So, what kinds of reactions do you get on the street? So people ask you where you got it, things like
yeah,
that. What else? What else have you heard
yeah.
from people?
Well, people. Firstly, I think people like the idea that you're not
Mm-hmm.
really sort of screaming it out, but it's just there. Like it's you're carrying it around wherever you
Mm-hmm.
go.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people can see it, and people perceive different things from it. Like I've actually heard that image even speaks about gender equality sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like different people also perceive the image and the
Mm-hmm.
word in different ways. I've actually gotten some bad feedback as well. They're like, it's not affirmative enough. Tolerance is too negative for me. And so I'm
Hmm.
like, that's fine, but look back at the incidences and see if should we just start from the love and the affirmative sort of words, or should we actually really honestly, just look at the reality. And it's
Right.
fine to be a realist for some time. It's good to dream about a beautiful world, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the world is beautiful. But can we? I feel like if we take baby steps, we might
Yeah.
actually become tolerant as a community and really understand that
Right.
there's something more to what's happening.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that jacket speaks volumes, and it's
Mhm.
done in a very subtle and very elegant way, which I think is just it's lovely. It's a beautiful jacket. And
Yeah, it's awesome, right? And I
it
think I
really
think I
is.
think I think tolerance can be used for just anything. It can be it can be mental health tolerance. It can be
Mhm.
tolerance about the environment or about climate change, about
Yeah.
colorism, which is also sort of what I've now started talking about, because the South Asian community is
Mm. Mhm.
really big on colorism, and just
Mhm.
sort of advocating against it is becoming really big these days,
Mhm.
because people are becoming more aware. I think that's what's awesome, is that people are okay with understanding why and what things are and why it's happening.
Mhm.
I feel like that's a good enough first step to take,
Mhm.
where people
Mhm.
really want to find out the root cause of something.
Right.
And then I feel like they're also open to conversations about around race, around colorism, climate change. I feel like a lot of these things are now becoming common dinner table topics.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think, like you said, tolerance is perhaps an easier step for some people to make.
Yeah,
They're asking for someone to love their neighbor.
yeah,
That's a big jump, but asking for them to
yeah,
be to try and understand their neighbor's perspective, that makes a little more sense.
yeah. That's
It
so
seems like
true.
something they can do a little bit more
Yeah,
realistically until they're ready for the next step.
yeah. And sort of how the artisans are paid, and what kind of space do they work in. And it was really interesting to see that some of them still had roofs that were made of asbestos, or some of them still had really bad working conditions where they were
Mm.
closely packed. And the I mean, there was a facade that the owner sort of put on, which was like, oh, we have everything's great, it's clean and blah blah blah. And when you'd actually go and ask them if you could see the facility, there was this big hesitance. And
Mm.
that was reason enough for me to believe that it's not what that person's saying. So
Mhm.
I actually set out. After 3 months, I finally found my designer who was able to sort of align with the same vision that we had. And so I sat down with him, showed him my design sketches, the fit, the thread color, and the pocket size. And so I really sort of tried to custom design the jacket.
Mhm.
And yeah, so our jackets are all ethically sourced. By ethically sourced, I mean that the artisans or the people that work on creating them are from minority groups in India. They are mostly women. They're all paid fairly, and fair is about 2 times the minimum wage. They
Mm.
have enough breaks between their shifts, so they're not working a lot, or have really tightly packed days. So they have a good 2.5 hour break for lunch, and really,
Nice.
really sort of easygoing work shifts as well. And
Wonderful.
then I made sure that they don't that the legal working age is what the employer really follows, because of the
Mhm.
whole child labor issue in India. And so yeah, so that's what ethically sourced really means, and
Mhm.
that's what we sort of decided on, and we made sure that that happened. And that's I feel like a lot of big brands that actually source from South Asian countries don't tell you this side of their story,
Mhm.
where they're all sweatshop workers and they're paid
Mm.
like 0.02 cents or 2 cents a cloth, and are made to work 10, 12 hours to meet their deadlines. And I
Mhm.
feel like, I mean, honestly, if this was something that was important for me, I think ChainSpark was on a mission to create awareness about something. So we had to make sure that we were ethically sourcing our goods. There was no way that we were going to um, sort of let that side go away or
Mhm.
compromise on it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what the jackets are. They have a black thread on them. They're blue denim, and we've tried to make sure that the dyes are not too harmful for the environment. Now,
Great.
denim is not the most environmental friendly fabric. A disclaimer. But we sort of tried our best to make sure that it's not that harmful.
Mhm.
And the great thing that we do is, as we send out our jackets, we also send 5 steps on how to upcycle your denim jacket. So once
Nice.
you're done using it, you know exactly what to do with it. um
I
so
love
yeah,
that.
that's what the jackets are all about.
Mhm. How many women or how many people, sorry, how many people do you employ?
So I work with a producer in India, and
Mhm.
so he has about 35 women, about 25 to 30 men, but they work on different brands as well.
Mhm.
And so they're Muslim women that he employs, and he himself is Muslim. And so he gives them all of Ramadan, which is when they're fasting, he gives them
Mhm.
off. So that's the 1 month when we don't get our jackets or any communication. And I think we really respect that. It's not a limiting factor for us. We respect
Mhm.
that he is
Mm-hmm.
giving his employees that much time to really take off. Sometimes they go on a pilgrimage, or just spend time with their families. So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of nice to see your producer sort of care for its employees, as for his employees as well. So yeah, that's what. So I think he has a smaller factory. I feel like with larger factories, I think what happens is they end up following the unethical ways of producing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That can get lost very quickly, I think, when you start to scale
exactly.
up. But
Hmm.
yeah, I love that they take the time for Ramadan off. I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. Do you plan to expand your offerings?
Yes. So I think right now I'm just playing in the denim jacket space. So what
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing right now is coming up with different issues that we feel most passionate about. And that's another thing. If there's something that you guys are passionate about, and I keep putting this up on social media as well, I feel like we're always looking for our consumers or people that really believe in the brand to tell us what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're now focusing on climate change and mental health
Awesome.
as
Oh,
our two new
wonderful.
topics. Yeah, and what we're doing is we're moving away from the image, but we're now coming up with actionable steps that we're actually going to hand paint at the back of the jacket.
Oh,
So
wow.
actionable steps that you can take to be to be more environmentally conscious, or to care for your mental health more. And I feel like it'll have 5 steps or 3 steps that you can just wear around everywhere you go. So it's like, you're raising awareness on the go, sort of a thing. um
Love that.
yeah, so that's what I was just the other day. I was like, oh, you know what, maybe with the image we're just telling you that this is what the issue is, but is there any way that we can actually tell people what they can do about the issue?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Nice.
so I had this sort of moment when there was a power outage in Texas last week. And so that's the new thing we're working on. But the other thing is we're also getting into pet accessories.
Oh,
So
nice.
mid March or late March, from what it looks like, we have bandanas and face masks for humans coming up soon, and they're all made by artisans in Rajasthan, the state of Rajasthan in India, and they're all hand block prints,
Oh,
and
nice.
so they're all like all custom made. They're really nice and cottony, so I think it's perfect for the summer, and we'll be launching that very very soon.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the design on the jacket for ending cruelty to pets or being, kindness to
Oh,
pets.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really it's so sweet and
Yeah.
it's lovely. It's lovely. And
Yeah.
I think about, when I commute on the bus, how much time do I spend looking at someone's back? You know,
That's
it's a
so
great
true.
way to educate people. I spend a lot of
Yeah.
time staring at someone's back.
That's so true. Yeah. I think, and I feel like with sort of our apparel or our products, what we really try to do is not just stop there, but also then tackle issues firsthand. So we have our give back program. So the pet awareness, so the pet harm jacket actually, so we donate 5% of it to a rescue center in India.
Oh,
And then with the
lovely.
bandanas that we're coming up with, we're actually teaming up with a local rescue center in Seattle. So we're really excited about that. I think there's so much you can do when you just keep sort of social impact at the center, or at the
Mhm.
core of your business,
Mhm.
where everyone benefits from the profits you make. So
Mhm.
I feel like that's also kind of what drives us to coming up with more collections, or more apparels and
Yeah.
accessories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just making it very hard for people like me to decide. I think all these things are wonderful.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, so I think a lot of us are concerned that we seem to be going backwards as a society. Like we're getting
Hmm.
less tolerant and less loving, and when it comes to race and immigration and diversity and so forth. Um, do you feel that? Do you share that concern? Do you see it differently?
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on
Um,
that?
yeah, I feel like we're definitely going back as a society. I think the way I look at it is that, we've started looking at things in a very binary way. So
Mm,
it's either
mm-hmm.
black or it's white. And I think what we forget is that people or things come with layers of, intersectionality, where it's like a
Mm-hmm.
community can have an impact, a person's background, cultural upbringing,
Yes.
sexuality, education. There's just so many things, like lived experiences. All of these things
Yeah.
really contribute to the kind of person you are. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we're all becoming sort of global citizens, where we're now a lot more aware about things around you, maybe even outside your neighborhood, right? To start small.
Right.
But I feel like societal norms are still the same, and
Mm-hmm.
that hasn't changed too much. So
Right.
societal norms continue to be traditional. Sometimes I feel like the policies around us or the way that structural change needs to happen is happening at a slower pace than than the pace that humans are sort of evolving at.
Mm.
So I feel like maybe that's what is really bringing us back, where we're looking at things from a very um just from one perspective, or just like from
Mm-hmm.
one lens, instead of really
Mm-hmm.
truly finding out why people are behaving the way that they are, or why are things the way that they are. And I feel like humans are different from other species, where we are a little more emotional and we are more empathetical. And I think we're all forgetting about that side of
Mm-hmm.
our species. So I feel like if we actually start looking at things a little more emotionally instead of super realistically or practically, I feel like we might actually be able to understand how things are changing. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like with race and immigration, I mean, they obviously have really, really strong historical roots. And I feel like understanding about it and like understanding why it happened at that time and why it shouldn't happen now is what's important.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in the South Asian community, we still have colonial hangovers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the way that
Mm-hmm.
we look at things, the way that we've been taught to do things, it has a lingering colonial effect, even with colorism, right? Favoring the lighter skin over the darker skin. I feel like all of these are things which South Asians are sort of okay with now because of the colonial rule that happened over us. And I feel like we shouldn't just stop there. Instead of acknowledging it, we need to find out how we can change that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you're I think you, I personally feel like we are going a little backwards.
Mm.
um and it's sad to see that, because there's so much innovation happening in different spaces, that we're forgetting the most important thing, which is humanity. And
Mm-hmm.
I watched a South Park episode recently about machines taking over. And South Park does a lovely representation of things. They stretch it sometimes, which is what I don't
Mm-hmm.
like, but I was like, I hope that doesn't happen, because like robots and machines are probably going to be a lot more smarter than we are. And and we have the one thing that we really thrive on, which is emotions. So let's
Right.
actually start channeling that into the right way. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
Hmm.
Do you think that there's a generational difference in how we see in how we see things? And because it
Hmm.
seems to me like yes, we've recently taken several steps backwards in tolerance and in comfort level with diversity and so forth. But
Hmm.
there's also so much more conversation around all
Yeah.
of those issues than there was, when I was in high school, for example.
Hmm.
So is it generational? Are we looking to the millennials and Gen Z and beyond to
Hmm.
continue the opening that
Hmm.
kind of appears to be closing a little bit right now?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I feel like, and I was reading an article about this, how the millennial or Gen Z are sort of the woke generation
Mm-hmm.
of the world. But I think what's also happening is that we have different perspectives coming in now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe 20 years back or 30 years back, there weren't that the migratory patterns weren't such that we were even coming across people that were different from us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of things have opened up avenues for migrants to move on or move around, right? And so you have a different perspective coming into your neighborhood even. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's what's maybe changing, and I think being open to that idea and really understanding it from a human perspective, from a humanity level, might actually be a good step, right? You have a new neighbor that looks different than you. It might be a good idea to actually go and find out where they're from, what they do.
Right.
Invite them over with no prejudices that they might not eat some things or might not drink some things, and really open up about your culture and learn about their culture. So I feel like maybe even that's a small step we can take to not going backwards in society.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. And and you shouldn't miss out, right?
Mm-hmm.
On all those experiences that you can get from a neighbor who's of a different
For sure.
ethnicity, religion, belief system. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so much to be gained.
Yeah. Can you imagine not spending any money and learning about a whole new culture? That's awesome, right?
Right?
You're getting
Exactly.
authentic. You're getting the authentic experience.
Yeah,
you might want if you spend like $5,000, but there the person is next to you giving you that same
right,
authentic experience. So
right,
it's
right.
free, take it.
Exactly, exactly. Enjoy the
Yeah,
food and the tea and the conversation and all the good things
yeah,
that you can get. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So, what suggestions or recommendations would you have for other women who are looking to start a business, or
Hmm.
young
Yeah,
people, or immigrants,
yeah.
or?
Hmm. Yeah, no, I love this question. I think I feel like people should follow their passions and believe in your idea, however bad it is or however weird it seems. Um, I've come across way too many such ideas on Shark Tank. There was this one
Mm.
guy that actually made a no phone, which was just a cardboard piece of a cardboard that looked like a phone for people to carry around with them because they're hooked onto their phones. And here this guy came in asking for $1 million for like 5%. Yeah, so I mean, you know what? Follow your passion. It's
Right.
fine. I think the other thing that I feel like as a woman you should do is connect with other women. I think it's really helpful to talk to other women. I think they're very supportive. Women are also sort of changing their perspective in a way where they actually want to be good support systems for other women, just to encourage them and create this ecosystem of women leaders or women really
Mm-hmm.
jumping on what they're passionate about. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's no harm in asking questions, reaching out to people, jumping on opportunities. I feel like sometimes as a small business owner, if you are not really sure which way to go, sometimes local resources are actually really helpful. Like
Mm-hmm.
local
Mm-hmm.
community centers have some really good resources, and I think talking to your family is also pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Sit your family down, tell them that I'm starting this, I want to start this. If you have like sort of family pressures where you have a small child, or if you're just married and your partner doesn't have, maybe your partner has some expectations from you that you feel like might be a little sacrificed with your new venture. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
always good to sit your partner down, sort of talk about it in the beginning, see how
Yeah.
your family or your immediate support group can actually help you out, help take some burden off of you.
Mm.
I think so. I feel like the what I would recommend or what my motto has been is, just ask and just ask. That's all I do
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? Someone will say no, but at least you tried, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Ask. Yeah. There's no shame in asking for help.
yeah,
All right. It's a smart business decision if that helps.
yeah. And I think Seattle that way has been amazing. I've met such amazing women that are always ready to help, and always ready to sort of jump on and see how they can collaborate with you even. So I think, and I was this person where I was like, oh, I'm young, I'm a new business owner, why would they really want to talk to me, or why would they want to collaborate with me? And then I think when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, come on, what's the worst that can happen? We're in a
Right.
pandemic, right? The worst has already happened.
Right.
I'm just gonna go all out, and so Chain Spark sort of in the middle became my side project or a passion project. And late last year, I quit my job, and I was like, I started this for a reason, and I want to see it grow. And so
Mm.
I feel like ever since then, I've just been going at it.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's so great. Just feet first and no looking
Yeah,
back. That's great.
exactly. Yeah.
If yeah, if you could put one of your jackets on anyone, who would you put
Mhm.
it on?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. Just so many people come to mind. I don't know. Like
You can
first
you
thing
can
was,
as I say, you could give us several.
yeah, awesome. No, the first one that came to my mind was Beyonce because I love her. But also Amal Clooney, and I
Mm.
think Amal Clooney or Mina Harris. I feel like those are the two sort of strong women that I see who really are vocal about the issues that they want to make a change with, or are just really, really passionate about their advocacy work and see a different world. And
Mm.
so I feel like I would love for them to, wear my jacket and wear it around. If you guys are listening to this, I would love for you to wear my jacket. um,
You can email me at.
you can email. You can find us on Instagram. It's change.spark.
Perfect.
Yeah, but apart from that, I think just anybody that believes in creating a tolerant world, and I feel like anybody that wants to that doesn't want to settle for what's happening right now, but
Mm-hmm.
actually wants to create that world that they want to live in and that they feel like they everyone should live in. So for anyone out there that really believes in this vision, I would love for them to rock the tolerance jacket.
That's fabulous. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful jacket. I'm telling you, people, it's a really really lovely. What
I
would
I have you have not been paid to say this.
no, no. I went to the website and went, oh, now I want them both, and the ones that are coming. Uh, what is your superpower? Do you think?
Yeah, I think it's elasticity.
Nice.
I don't know if you remember the Incredibles girl. Is it Violet, I feel, or the mom
Yeah,
who has like stretchy
Elastigirl.
hands?
Yes.
Elastic. Oh, wow, that's how easy it was. Elastic girl. Yeah, I feel like that's what my superpower is. I think as a small business owner, you're in so many different spaces. One day you're learning how to file your taxes, the other day you're learning get your how to get your customs in ready for your goods to reach you, or to look for the
Yeah.
best eco-friendly packaging for your consumers. So yeah, I think elasticity is what it is. I've just been stretching my legs and hands in different spaces to make it
That's
all work
awesome.
as smoothly as I can. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and my favorite movie, by the way. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's yeah, Elastigirl. That's that idea of being very flexible and very nimble,
Hmm.
and being able to do all the things that you're doing, and to do them with, not taking the easy route, because you want the
Hmm.
sustainable packaging and you want the good business practices and all that thing. That
Yeah.
like that makes it exponentially harder to do, and
So
it's
true.
it's wonderful that you're making those efforts. So
Yeah, no,
yay
thank you so
you.
much.
So, what other projects are you working on or excited about?
Hmm. So I'm currently working on the Learn with Chainspark series. So Learn with Chainspark, we have Instagram lives. We try every Friday, based on our guests' availability, but we really
Nice.
want people to learn about different things. And so in the past, we've had um, an interview with a nutritionist on the intersection of nutrition and culture, and
Mm,
how low income
lovely.
neighborhoods or communities in low income neighborhoods can really make the most out of what's available to them.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also had one on the much needed diversity in storytelling. And I had a Indian American author who recently published her book talk about her experiences and why she felt like it was finally
Wonderful.
time for her to write her story and put out a diverse perspective out there. So that's what I'm actually really excited about. We have a few more exciting ones coming up. We're Next Friday we're talking about ethical supply chains, and then we
Oh,
have a
wow.
few roastery tours and distillery tours coming up as well. We're all
Oh,
virtually,
nice.
all virtual on our Instagram. So
Right.
I think that's something I'm super excited about. I'm getting more into using the digital platform for storytelling. I
Yeah.
think in any way that I can, I want to bring in my perspective or a diverse perspective and bring in people's stories about what they're doing and how they're really helping um, grow, and how they're helping with the issues that we target and the issues that we're most passionate about. So, I'm also always looking to do photo essays and sort of storytelling projects. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what I'm most excited about. Apart from the apparel and those kind of things, I've slowly started venturing into this as well.
Oh, I love it. That's so exciting. That's so exciting. And
Yeah.
I love that, that share the platform,
Mhm.
share the space and the voice. And yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
really important. That's something we can all do for each other, is share the opportunity to speak out, which
for sure.
doesn't
Yeah.
always happen.
Yeah.
All right. My final thing is, can you please recommend for us one book,
Mhm.
one
Mhm.
TV show, one piece of music, and one podcast?
Awesome. Yeah. One book is I would say the bullet journal method. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a really,
Yeah.
really nice way to sort of line up your tasks in a way that make most sense. And I think what I really liked or what I took away from it was that start small, break down your tasks to the most minute level, like send an email or write
Mm.
the email, and then
Mm-hmm.
really tick it off. So at the end of the day, when you look at it, you've done maybe 15 out of 20, and although that 15, 5 out of the 15 might have just been one big chunk
Right.
or one
Right.
big task, but I feel like you've achieved a lot more. So that's a really good book. And one TV show, I think, is that I've been really hooked onto is This Is Us. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the new season, or the last two seasons, the way that they have shot it or the way that they've directed it is really, really interesting. Where they're bringing in really different parts of life and
Mm-hmm.
bringing in really different stories. Like there was one about the character finding out about his uncle who was in the Vietnam War and sort of what
Mm-hmm.
that has led to right now and how he experiences trauma and the sort of veterans association he goes to and sort of the kind of limitations that they face with their funding and whatever else. So I
Right.
feel like it really taps into so many different perspectives and different issues around, and it's a beautiful story at the end of the day. So I think if you guys haven't started, you should jump on it. It's 5 whole seasons and an episode is an
Nice.
hour long. So it'll take you some time to get through it.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's worth the hour that I spent watching it.
Great. Great.
um and then you said a piece of
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. Something you listen
um
to for inspiration or relaxation or any of that.
yeah. I actually really like listening to the top 20, to be honest. I feel like that keeps
Nothing wrong.
changing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that keeps changing every now and then. So I get to listen to newer artists. But I feel like Ethiopian jazz is something I've recently started getting into. It's super super
Nice.
catchy, very peppy, and like um
Fun.
I don't know. I mean, I feel because I grew up with my dad playing a lot of jazz, and also a mix of Boney M, which now I feel is a very different sort of genre. But I feel like Ethiopian jazz is actually something that's really evolved, and it's just amazing.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and they have a lot of artists on Spotify as well. So
Okay.
that's
That's great.
yeah. And then a podcast. Oh, uh, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. I don't know if you've heard it. It is hilarious.
It
I used
is. It's
to
very fun.
It's so funny. I used to watch it sometimes at work, and then there were times when I had to go to the meeting room just to laugh, because I would be at my desk doing like the usual boring. Sometimes it was like boring
Right.
Excel spreadsheets. I was like, let me listen to a podcast on the side, and then I would just giggle and laugh. So I had to like run into a conference room once, to actually really laugh.
It's the
uh,
ultimate compliment. I'm sure Conan would love it if he heard that. So
yeah, Conan, if you're listening, I would love for you to wear my jacket as well.
there you go.
Shamelessly promoting the jacket around here.
It's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. All right. Well, is there anything I haven't asked you? One thing I do want to ask is where can people
Mhm.
find you and your apparel?
Yeah. So super easy, chainsparkstore.com. That's the website. And it's on Instagram as well. So change.spark. I feel like that's the easiest way to find the website as well because we have it linked. And
Okay,
then
great.
um we have it on Facebook as well and on LinkedIn, but I feel like Instagram is really where most of the magic happens
Yeah.
these days. So I mean, the Learn with Chain Sparks are always on there as well. So we usually have them on Fridays, and we have some fun content that we try to pop up, like some reels that we've been trying to do. And it's always funny because I have a social media person helping me out, and she's like, you need to do more fun reels, and I'm like, can you explain what that means?
Yeah.
What are fun reels? And so she sends me a whole bunch of like different TikTokers kind of content, and I'm like,
Right.
I don't know if I can do this. I'm gonna try my best. um but yeah, I
Those are
mean,
some brave people doing
I
that fun stuff
know,
on TikTok. I love it. It's great, but man, I don't know if I have the nerve.
right? I know. Oh my god. And honestly, I tried doing one. It's a lot of effort. um
Yeah.
for like 10-15 seconds of a bite. Wow, I don't know if I
Yeah.
really want to do that right now. But yeah, that's where you can find us. You can
Great.
always send me an email as well. I'm happy to answer questions. I love being transparent about any of our practices. So if there's anything that you have questions about, I'm very approachable, and you can directly send me an email.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Shravani. This has been really fantastic, and I'm just
Yeah,
thrilled to be able to share the message a little bit. So thank you
awesome.
for
Thank you
joining
so
me.
much, Shannon. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks so much to Shravani for joining me for this conversation. Please subscribe to the podcast for more conversations like this, and be sure to check out Shravani at changesparkstore.com. If you're considering a podcast for your business or organization, feel free to make an appointment for a free consultation at audiotocracy.com. That's AUDIOTOCRACY.com. And now I'll leave you with a quote from my favorite author, Douglas Adams. I may not have gone where I intended to go, but I think I've ended up where I needed to be. See you next time.